It is week 4 of my little magic thing, and some stuff happened since the last episode. The Commander brackets beta analysis came out from Magic. That's probably not going to matter for most people. I'm not really going to dig too into it, but it means that that's just another little thing uh, that we can consider. We're taking a look at all of my previous decks just because of this new thing. I did change a couple of cards in the Massacre Girl deck. Let's see. I took out something to put in an Endless Atlas for some more card draw. And I took out something else, and I already forgot what it was. I thought it was lands, but I took out two small. Oh, there it is. I put in a Virtual Persistence, because since I have like Shieldred and the Ancient Brass Dragon and even Necros Getter, I might as well lean a tiny bit in to taking stuff out of other people's graveyards. So yeah, and I took out like two small creatures that I wasn't really a big fan of. That I already forgot what they were, but they were like 2 mana 3/1s or something like that. And this has been an estimated bracket 2, which just means a normal deck that's not trying too hard to win. Xenophobic Elves got Core 2, Bracket 2 because of Marlin of the Morn Song. I believe that, and the Pyre of Heroes because they're non-land tutors. Even though they're kind of in here one's here because I'm glad that those only kept it at Core 2 because they're not like game-changing cards. And the fact that Marlin, wherever she is, there she is symmetrical. This is basically a typal birthing pod, so it's not like particularly powerful. Yeah, core, like the brackets are trying to have fun more than win, like very specific. That's like bracket 1. Bracket 2 is just trying to play a game, like fair magic, whatever. 3 is we're really trying to tune our deck to be a little bit better. 4 is like we're a bit competitive, and bracket 5 is like we're really competitive. If I wanted to oversimplify them, my first two decks are interesting because they are the upgraded bracket 3, but that is because Cyclonic Rift is in the deck, and then I also have Tribute Mage, which was good, yeah. Which is funny because it's basically mostly searching for ramp or like one of the boots. But yeah, Cyclonic Rift. But that's because my play group doesn't get salty at Cyclonic Rift as much as other groups. Mostly because we handicap blue in so many other ways. So, but I'd have an option that I could take Cyclonic Rift out of this deck and drop it down to an even 2, or I could just tell people I'm kind of playing a weak 3. I put Cyclonic Rift in the deck, but that's it. But I'd really have to actually play these decks to see how strong they were, and I don't really have the time to do that with the other stuff I do. I just like theory crafting, I think I said before. And this one has Smothering Tithe. which I do feel is necessary in mono white. But that's all for that. I didn't want to dwell on it too much. Currently a 1, but that's because the deck isn't even finished. But, oh, well, yeah. Here's week 4 mono red. And, yeah, we're doing Norin, Swift Survivalist, as the commander. When Duskmourn came out and they're like, Norin's back. And I'm like, how is he alive? And then you kind of read the lore of Duskmourn and you're like, oh, that's messed up. But yeah, but the second I saw Norin, I'm like, oh, I really love this card. So Norin is a 1 red mana for 2/1, so he's a Savannah Lion, which is interesting because he's a coward. Norin's with Survivalist can't block, which is interesting. So he can attack at least, unlike old Norin the Wary, that whenever a player because he's 1 red mana for 2/1, it's really hard to tell in that frame. That whenever a player casts a spell or a creature attacks, exile Norin the Wary, return it to the battlefield and it's under control at the beginning of the next end step. This card's bad, but in a funny way. And then whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may exile it. If you may play that card from exile this turn. So you kind of got to be careful, because if you don't cast it, it's gone forever. But it's a good way to abuse enter the battlefield effects. Like if the creature has one, or if you have another thing on the battlefield that cares if a thing enters the battlefield. We are going to do the we're going to do the responsible thing first and put in our lands. $30 basics. All printings. DSK. And we're going to use these, even though they're $1. Yes. And now we'll search for 10 non-basics. Although I already know, actually wait, let's see if I can remember all, no, I actually know I won't remember all of them, so let's just go T land, because there are some good ones in mono red. We don't need any of these. The ones I'm thinking of will actually have a red border, like Arena of Glory. Arena of Glory enters tapped unless you control a mountain. You can tap it for a red, or you can tap it and a red to exert Arena of Glory. Exert means it doesn't untap during your next untap step. Add 2 red. So, you know, you're getting your mana back. It's not ramping you, you're just getting all your mana back. If that mana is spent on a creature spell, it gains haste until end of turn. So, you know, you can give something haste without like having to put in excuse me. And, you know, you still have a regular land if you don't need the haste effect. So that's one of them. Another thing is that Aether Drift came out recently. That's not really going to affect this deck or any of the 4 decks I built before this. It might affect next week's deck, the mono green one. We'll have to see how it goes. Not using Barbarian Ring. Load more. Basri's Tunnel Grinder. Oh wait, no, it starts in an artifact that turns into a land. Castle Embreth is fine. Enters taps unless you control a mountain. You can tap it for red or for It, 2 red, and another one. Creatures you go control get +1/+0 until end of turn. That's expensive, but you know it's not bad. It's like something you can use your mana on if you have nothing else to do. Though in this deck, I probably won't be using it too much unless you got a clear path, but definitely probably on the short list of stuff to take out. Still don't need Command Tower because we're in mono red. Going through these quick. We don't need the desert. We don't need the Den of the Bugbear. We don't really need token creatures at all. Dormant Volcano. It's a bounce land that you have to return an untapped mountain to your hand. That's garbage. Dwarven Mine gives us a token creature. Flamekin Village. That's Flamekin Village enters the battlefield. You may reveal an elemental card from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped. It is an alt. We're probably not going to have any elementals in here, but I like the idea of having something that gives our stuff haste. So even if we never get this into play untapped, I think I'm still fine with it. A land with cycling becomes a creature. See, that's kind of interesting because if this was a deck that had any way of landfall, that would be neat. Attack with this, see if it gets blocked. Return it to your hand, play it as your land for turn. I'm actually going to maybe board that one because I know landfall's mostly in green, but other colors have some of it. Like maybe there's a secret synergy we can find. The Great Furnace is just an artifact land that's not really necessary. The Hidden Volcano. We can sacrifice it to discover 4 for a total of 6, since it's 5 plus 1. But that doesn't hurt. But it does enter the battlefield tapped for the record. There we go. Keldon Megaliths. Basically, an inverted lightning bolt, 3 mana to deal 1 damage, but you have to have no cards in hand. Nope. Care Keep to create kobolds, but again, they're tokens, not really important here. Looming Spires, this is really good. Mad Blind Mountain would be cool if we were playing with a lot of scrying. It's like, ugh. And like you knew you didn't want you didn't like the cards at the top of your deck and you didn't have any faith in the cards after that. Or basically if you just did a Brainstorm, the one where you draw 3, put 2 back on top of your deck. Memorial to War. It's really expensive for that. Mines of Moria. Huh. Exile 3 cards from your graveyard, create 2 treasure tokens. That's interesting, but I don't think we're going to do that. our results. Ramanat Ruins. Okay, we're not playing with enough deserts for that to matter. And that's for a multicolored deck. Rockface Village. That's not going to matter. Rocky Roads isn't going to matter. Shinka, the Blood-Soaked Keep. Sounds unsanitary. Target legendary creature gains first strike until end of turn. I actually like that. Because we know we have one legendary creature and it's a 2/1. So giving it first strike on the off chance that we don't want to return it to our hand. Cycling 2. A one-time things can't block. Creates tokens again. Hideaway. So when this card enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, then put the rest at the bottom in a random order. It enters tapped. You can tap it for red or pay 1 red and tap this. You may play the exile card without paying its mana cost if an opponent was dealt 7 or more damage this turn. Sure, we'll put that in. And we're nearing the bottom. We're at T. Teetering Peaks. It has a one-time use thing. The Autonomous Furnace. Pay 3 basically while sacrificing this to draw a card. Sure. A lot of these things are probably like first on the chopping block to be removed, but I do like to admit their existence. I think I said that before. Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, definitely 100% going in. Let me read all the text. It enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it to add red. Whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, if you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, deal 3 damage to target creature or player. Which I think it means any target, because this is an older card. So that's like a neat I have mountains payoff for mono red. Vivid Crag, 2 charge counters. That's for adding mana of any color. And we are at the bottom. So scroll to top, because that's where this is. Now we close. We only have 38 lands in the deck. I don't think we're going to use Gitu Encampment. There's still a chance that we remove like 1 mountain later, but like depending on the, because our curve is probably not going to be too high, since like we want to attack and then be able to cast the creatures again if they get blocked. Let's put in our ramp. Let's put in our degenerate ramp. Don't mess with me. You know what I want. The Ruby Medallion. I mean, it doesn't help us cast our commander the first time, but let's see. Can I name the other one? It's a diamond, though, I think. I think they're all diamonds. I do like the diamond pickaxe for what it's worth. Fire diamond. That... Sure. Because it doesn't have to deal damage, it just has to attack. So that's pretty good. I like that. So that's 5 pieces of ramp. We're going to need more. Well, but here's where I like just go through my personal staples. The Endless Atlas. Because we're going to have 3 lands of the same name. And they're all going to be mountain. The Mind Stone. You know, the 2 mana ramp. Let's see how many of those I can remember without having to look them up. The Thought Vessel, even though I don't expect us to have a full hand often. But it's a simple rock to throw in. Not a big fan of the iron. Of the Iron Crag. That's such a bad searcher. Because like in on Arena, it's like, do you want to turn this into equipment? No, I don't want to turn it into equipment. You know. Just that bit of annoyance. Just put in Felwar Stone. Because it's basically... I would say it's basically adding colorless mana, but then I realized colorless mana is a specific thing. It's basically adding generic mana most of the time. That'll probably have to do, because we could probably just go, wait, we don't actually need this much ramp at a later date. Reckless Impulse. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. And then Rin's Resolve. The exact same card with a different name. They're impulsive draw because they give you like 2 turns to play them. So, and if one of them's a land, that's your land drop for turn. If both of them are land, that's your land drop for 2 turns. They're both expensive spells. Well, shucks. You know what? I now forgive this thing for being able to understand my typo, even if it makes me put the in front of Ironcrag to know what card I'm looking for. And I can still put Child War, and it'll still find Chaos Warp. Like the... I don't like Red's removal because it's damage based, but Museum Mortars. I'll go through these after I add the next one. So Lightning Bolt, 3 damage to any target for 1 red. That's at least super efficient. Museum Mortars will do 4 damage to a target creature you don't control, which is... It's good that it specifies that, because if someone else is playing like a deflection spell, they can't turn it back on you. They just got to turn it somewhere else. But for Overload, so if you pay 6 mana, 3 and 3 red, it's 4 damage to all creatures you don't control. And that's pretty sweet. Delayed Blast Fireball deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. If this spell was cast from exile, it deals 5 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. And you can foretell it for 2 generic and then play it for 6. Or, if you're lucky, you can exile it with one of these 2 spells and get that extra damage for 3. So nice sweepers that leave you out of it. And we are 56 cards in. I definitely want to start putting okay, so I'm going to look up a specific card because I want to get the wording on it. Because of course we're going to be abusing impact. We're going to be abusing impact trimmers. So we want whenever, we're going to need quotation marks. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield. Yep. Get rid of that. If I had the money, I would. So that's interesting. Is it just being weird? I'm just looking down to see if I see impact trimmers. There it is. Oh. I see my mistake. I forgot that they removed the battlefield from the Oracle text. Whenever Ether Flash is interesting for that Enrage deck I was talking about. Whenever a creature enters, Ether Flash deals 2 damage to it. Whenever a creature you control enters, you may have this artifact. It's boring. Whenever a creature enters, you may untap Blasting Station. No, we're not doing we're not doing the modules. Dragon Tempest, creature with flying, Electropotence. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 and a red. If you do, that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. That's a use of mana that I don't like. Whenever a creature enters this battlefield under your control, if it has 1 or more oil counters on it, put an oil counter on it. In the Web of War, whenever a creature enters under your control, that's at least a maybe, because it's +2/+0 and haste until end of turn, but it costs 5. That might be a little expensive. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may add an equal number of creatures control that share a creature type with it. Huh. Okay, we're not playing Typal this time, but that is an interesting card that I like it. amount of colorless mana equal to the number of creatures you control that share a type with it. Man, I like that card a lot. Like, mana echoes, I guess, goblins. Markov Enforcer. Whenever Markov Enforcer, another vampire enters. Okay, we're not playing Typal. Whenever a creature enters, if it was cast, exile, then return all other permanents. Okay, that sounds obnoxious and unhelpful to this deck. As Outpost Siege enters the battlefield, choose Cons or Dragons. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You may play that card. Or, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege does wouldn't damage any target. I'm not sure if that's good enough, but I do like that since, like, it adds another layer to, do you really want to block this? Just saying. Whenever a creature comes into play, that creature's controller may have it deal damage equal... Nope, it's too symmetrical. That effect for me, not for thee. Whenever a creature comes into play, if there are two more other creatures in play, set that creature aside. No. Rage Forger. It's an elemental shaman. When Rage Forger enters, put a +1/+1 counter on either other shaman you control, so we're not playing Typal anyway. Ronin War Club. It just equips itself to stuff. So same with the Psy. Same with the Rig. That's all interesting, but I don't need it. Whenever a creature with power equal to its toughness enters the battlefield, under your... I don't think we're going to be playing a whole lot of symmetrical creatures, but that is neat. Warstorm Surge. It costs 6, but it does damage equal to its power. Whenever a creature with power 5 or greater enters... No. Turf War. That sounds annoying. Thornbite Staff is interesting, but not for this deck. There's actually a card that I'm surprised didn't show up, so let's... Because it's basically Warstorm Surge on a creature for less. Whenever... see, it's another creature. Okay, so... So we're going to do that. Then we're going to search for that. So, Hamlet Bat Goliath. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may put X +1/+1 counters on Hamlet Bat Goliath, where X is that creature's power. Yeah, this thing doesn't have trample, so I don't really care about that. And, okay, so... sorry, my back itches again. Yeah, ooh, haha. Whenever another creature you control enters, this deals 1 damage to each opponent, and it has offspring, so you can get 2. The second one significantly worse, but that's still... Like, that's still kind of the pingy nonsense we're going for. Okay, that happened since I'll be casting stuff after. Oh, this is a way better version of that other one. I'm gonna maybe board it because I'm not sure. Like the haste happens when it comes in, so like you don't really get it unless you have multiple combats. Although multiple combats definitely sounds like a thing I probably want to put into this deck. The Bolt Bringer. Whenever one or more goblins control attack. Okay, so being a goblin itself is fine, so it doesn't really need to be goblin typal. Because whenever another creature control enters, this deals 1 damage to each opponent, so that's fine. Cruin Striker. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under control, it gets +1/+1 trample until end of turn. Again, after combat effects doesn't really help because you're going to want to cast your stuff right away. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This deals 2 damage to it. And if it was a dinosaur, this gets bigger. That's not helpful. Deals 1 damage to each opponent. So basically you're going to get that damage one way or another. Oh, huh. Enduring Courage is basically an improved Ogre Battle Driver. Maybe board that as well. Because, like, initial castings are good, too. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. That's worth the extra mana. Rose Room Treasurer. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a treasure token if this is the first or second time this ability is resolved this turn. Otherwise, you may pay X. Oh, I like that. Where when you do, Rose Room Treasure deals X damage to any target. I like that. 2 treasure, and then if you happen to have a third thing, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature and opponent controls can't block this turn. That's not really good with the timing of our deck. Soul Tether Golem doesn't really do enough for that to really matter. Terror of the Peaks is already in. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, Witty Roastmaster deals 1 damage to each opponent. There we go. Let's see. So were they all put under burn? No, that's interesting how Terror of the Peaks and Warstorm Surge are over there. So I'm going to give it my own, I'm going to give them my own category. ETB. Damage. Create new. Create category. There. Close. Oh, Rose Room Treasure was put here in ramp. I can see how it would be in ramp because that's the thing that happens more often. Yeah, put you in ETB damage. Just setting everybody up. Oh wait, no, I forgot that I can just do this. Just making sure nothing that I didn't mean to get in there got in there. I'm actually going to set this its own category. Norin. Whoops. Norin again. And it's a premier category. There. Let's see, what are we at? We're at 65. Let's see, let's go by type really quick because we're at 7 creatures, so we definitely want to add well, plenty of creatures. See, but now we're at the we want creatures with ETB effects. Yeah, of course. And maybe haste. Although haste for that first round, I guess that's why we can have the Enduring Courage and Ogre Battle Driver. Was that proceeds? That's leaves. Oh, there's actually. Oh, I just thought of another. I just thought of another thing that we can abuse. Put into exile. Because they are being exiled. So, this is the one I was thinking of. Lelia, the Blade Reforged. Haste. Whenever Lelia, the Blade Reforged attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn, so you got to be really careful with your mana on that one. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library and or graveyard. Okay, so that is not so good. There's a background. So let's see if there's a from anywhere in red. Abandoned Sarcophagus, Blightsteel Colossus not appearing in this deck because it costs 12. And also it's not something that we're... Sorry, this back's still itchy. Countryside Crusher. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it into your graveyard. And repeat this process. Whenever a land card is put in your graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. That is an interesting card that isn't going to go in this deck. Festival of Embers. Nope. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Lightning Bolt. It costs 7, but I like it. And that's definitely the kind of thing that we're looking for. If a spell you control will deal damage to an opponent, prevent that damage. Create a 3/1 red elemental shaman creature token with haste for each 1 damage prevented this way. Huh. Interesting, but not happening. Impending Flux deals X damage to each opponent and each creature they control, where X is 1 plus the number of spells you cast from anywhere. I do like that. Because you can foretell it and then save up for a big turn. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you get a... I know 2/2 red that's maybe, because that is interesting. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand. Oh, spells mana value. I mean, these are some expensive, like, top-end things. But I like the idea of them, so we'll see how the deck functions. When you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, memory will do damage to a player. That player discards a card, then draws a card. Okay. I don't like making my opponent... I don't like hand destruction, but this, at least, I can go, hey, who wants to rummage? Kind of make it hurt less. I mean, this is a cheap effect, but it's do nothing really... not really good since we're not doing energy stuff. I'm pretty sure there's a red background that I'm... There we go. Okay, cast... Passionate... Norin the Cowardly Archaeologist. Indiana Jones, he is not. So, but that gives us another set of words to search for. We're still going to need cheap creatures, though, so... Apparently this is either going to pull up nothing or pull up a lot. Nope, pulled up 18. I think things are just being slow on my end. Don't like Eldrazi on principle. Let's see. So the Charred Foyer. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than play the mana cost for a spell you cast from exile. That costs 6. That's neat, but we already got a lot of expensive stuff. Eternal Scourge is like a hilarious Norin variant. Kami of... Because like whenever it gets targeted, it just goes into exile and then you can cast it from exile. That's wild. It's not good, though. Also, it's an Eldrazi, so forget it. Whenever a modified creature you control attacks... That ain't happening. Whenever you cast a spell from exile... see, like... My creatures are theoretically not staying on the battlefield long enough for +1/+1 counters to matter. Don't like any of that. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. If it's a permanent spell, the copy gains haste, and you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, so that's not super useful because, yeah, we're casting creatures on the other side of a combat step. Non-creature spells you cast from exile have Convoke. That's interesting. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may discard a card. If you do, exile the top 2 cards of your library, then choose one of them. You may play that card this turn. That's not really my style. Might notice I'm a bit conservative with my stuff. Squeezing Immortal. Cast from graveyard or exile. So even if I don't cast him the same turn he goes into exile, I can still cast him. He's not cheap, but he's kind of on principle. Your first spell you cast from exile each turn has Cascade. That's interesting. Visions of Phyrexia. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play that spell this turn. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't play a card from exile this turn, you get a Power Stone. Nah. Okay, so scroll to top. Go back down here, check cards and decks, 72. Go back to type, 12 creatures. A lot of other random stuff. And I definitely want more cheap creatures. So go back. So 12, we definitely want like 18 creatures, which gives us like 8 cards outside of that, if I'm mathing correctly. 72, 82, 92, yeah. So T creature order CMC enters, because again we want enter the battlefield effects that are helpful. I imagine this is going to get a lot of things, and then I'm going to have to redo the search at least once with whatever CMC I was last on, when it was like we can't dig up anymore. Yeah, my internet's a little slow today, or Archidec is slow today, one or the other, or Microsoft Edge is a big pile of garbage. More than one of these things can be true. These are neat, but like there's a big mana investment to make them worth anything. So we're just gonna skip right past those. Oh, hey, look, Hellhound has a landfall. Nope. Oh, hey, look, an elemental that can that tutors other elementals to the top of your deck. Whenever another red creature enters the battlefield under control, not helpful. Oh, it becomes suspected. Okay, you can suspect a different thing. Suspect means it has menace. That Goblin Bushwhacker doesn't entirely help. Oh, this deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you create a blood token. Basically, I'm going to put... I just like Vexing Devil. Because, like, listen, you can either let me have a 4/3 for 1 mana, or you can just take 4 damage. It's a sorcery speed slightly marginally better lightning bolt that doesn't hit creatures or planeswalkers, but still, like, it's 4 damage to face once for 1 red at sorcery speed. I'm still fine with that. Oh, and it was put into the remastered set, so I'm not the only one who thinks it's good, or at least a tempting take. Protection from multicolored. Just for the record, we're not putting Blood Moon in the deck. This deck is too silly to be that serious. That's definitely... I think that's on the... If that's not on the game changer list, would be weird. But yeah, that's a game changer card that would just too serious for this deck. I don't like exile effects that only give you till the end of your current turn to play them. Energy, don't care about that. This thing gives you a mana rebate. I'm gonna maybe board it, because then you could cast, you get 1 extra mana the turn it comes into play. It's not that strong though, so they might not block it and just take the 1, which also is also a win for the record. I didn't say that like either you get to cast your stuff again or they let themselves get hit. Okay, that's nothing. This asks you to pay extra mana, which I'm not into. That's energy. Yeah, that's on the other side of a fight. Those other, I think I said 10 cards. I'm probably going to look for extra combats. Whenever an artifact you control attacks, you may pay energy. 2 oil counters, I'm not into that. Dinosaurs. Discard a card, no thanks. Compass Gnome. Puts it on top, that's so obnoxious. Charming Scoundrel. You can either rummage, get a treasure, or a wicked roll. See, the wicked rolls will go away, but I do like this card in general. It's also a counterpoint to the Charming Prince from white. That's similar. Put that card on top. Hate you. Cunning Coyote. That's not helpful. That's just not useful. When Direfleet Daredevil enters the battlefield, exile target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. You may cast it this turn, and mana of any type can be spent to cast a spell. If that spell we prefer. So, yeah. Like, I don't know if I actually said this, but my play group, we don't like taking things from other people's boards, but taking stuff from their discard pile is perfectly acceptable, because you can assume that they're done with it. Even if they're playing it like a recursion deck, it's still kind of fine. That's just the way our brain feelings work, or at least the way mine work, and everyone else just kind of puts up with me. When Discerning Peddler enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. I don't know if we'll have the cards to discard. Honestly, I empty my hands fast. For better or worse. Each player scries 1, no thanks. Again, not useful. Hypocrisite, which is an interesting word. Gemmarine Fiend deals 1 damage to each opponent. Oh, I like this, because again, since it has this ETB, they might just want it rather just take the 2. That is a disgusting kicker cost. Multi-kicker. Discard card to draw a card. This does give us an extra combat step, so I'm going to maybe board it for that reason. Goblin Engineer. That's at least an interesting way to get us creature tokens, which I'm still not into. Goblin Recruiter to search for goblins. Look at that, we're still only on 2. A lot of stuff enters the battlefield to do stuff. This would be good except for the part where you only get the Power Stone as long as he's in play. It's like, here's a Power Stone. Oh, I'm taking it with me. Discard to draw. That stuff might end up in the deck, whether I like it or not. Insufferable Blader or Balladeer. Can't block. That's not... I'm not worried about that. Irreverent Gremlin. Whenever another creature you control with power 2 or less enters, once a turn, you can rummage. Whenever Avora, Insatiable Air, enters, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token. Whenever you discard a card, that's like its own deck. That isn't this deck. I do like her though. You just need something. Well, no, I guess there isn't something, because I was about to say to lower that cost, but the cost is already 1. Creates a monkey. The Marauding Raptor. Oh, and more landfall. Enters with stuff. Keldon Marauders with Vanishing. Ooh, enters or leaves. I'm fine with that. I definitely need to put haste into this deck, though. Like, you basically makes them not want to block it because it'll only be here for... It'll only be able to attack, like... I guess it only attack because... So it has Vanishing 2. So it comes into play, can't attack. Now it has Vanishing 1. It can attack. And then it leaves. It can attack once. So it's a funny way to get in 3 damage. Well, 5. But 2 of that is spread out. I like it. And it's all face damage. Because honestly, if they block it, I would return it to my hand because it only costs 2. I mean, that's mana inefficient, but it's so funny. Especially if you have your other stuff in play that cares, like your Impact Tremors and your Warstorm Surges. Tickets, we're not messing with that. We're not doing that. We don't care about this. We don't care about that. I just thought of another thing we cared about, but that ain't going to be... Well, we're still only on mana value 2. Pouncing Kavu has a kicker cost. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. Yeah, don't care. We're not putting in day or night. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, well, that's not how this deck rolls. Surveil. Silver Decoy. It takes all of my brain not to say sliver. Especially since I also said decoy instead of deputy. No. Okay. Storm Entity is neat, but yeah, that's not how this deck is a main phase 2 deck. I feel. The Ticket Tortoise is neat, but it has Defender, so that is ultimately useless. You know what? This thing creates a treasure. And again, little things that'll just make my opponents feel like they'd rather just take the damage. Player or Planeswalker? Player or Planeswalker? Some of these things probably won't stay in the deck, but I'm definitely got to look at them. See, now we're in mana value 3, so this 1 damage doesn't seem as worth it. Because when we were in mana value 2, that was pretty cool. I'm not really taking a serious look at any of these artifacts, if I'm being honest. So when it enters, you get a thing, and then you can sacrifice a thing. That's nights. Day and night, we're not doing any of that, and that's a bunch of artifact creatures. Yeah. Darn you, specific spot on my back that is consistently itchy for some reason. As Devouring Hellion enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures or planeswalkers. If you do, definitely not this deck. Dominating Vampire takes control of stuff. Dualcaster Mage copies a spell. Again, the timing of this deck. Exhibition Magician creates a treasure token. Like that other guy probably won't make it in the final version of the deck. The goblin that costs 2 red. Ooh. Farfinder. At least it puts the basic land into your hand. Jeez, but we're already at 3 mana. Electrostatic Pummeler. Oh, puts a bunch of dwarves on the top of your library. When this creature enters, you may sacrifice a creature or vehicle. If you do, destroy target artifact an opponent controls. No. Oh, this thing the Gearbane Orangutan destroys an artifact. And it has reach for if it matters. Yeah, being able to destroy an artifact anytime you cast this, that's good. Or just make them take 2. We're not keeping track of that either. The Goat Napper is a hilarious card. Whenever another legendary creature enters the battlefield on your turn, and he makes treasure when he deals combat damage. See, it has Echo. Don't like that. The name sticker Goblin. Goblin Borders. Oh, the Goblin Chain Whirler is actually good. 1 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. Enters the battlefield for search for a goblin. Destroyed non-basic land for 1 more mana. Oh, of course, there's 2 other cards that I definitely want to put in this deck. So that last 10, I kind of already have an idea. Amass Orcs 2, no. No to that, no to that, no to that. No to the Imperial Recruiter. Though I imagine it might actually be a decent card in this deck, because we might end up with a lot of low power creatures. Revelers destroys an artifact. No. This was a human. Well, technically, like there are some humans in here, but dealing damage to target player for even though the humans control, I don't feel is really good. Manic Vandal enters. We destroy an artifact. Sure. Some of those might not make it into the final cut. But it's a thing red can do, so we may as well do it. Mine Raider. If you control another outlaw, you create a treasure. Reading a card that was already in the deck. That was silly of me. Patron of the Arts creates a treasure token. PNLR makes you a creature. Plundering Barbarian can give you a treasure token or destroy an artifact. I like that. Of any of the ones of this specific 3 mana destroy an artifact on ETB, this one has the highest chance of staying. Create a treasure token. I actually like Powder Ganger because it has squad 2, so you can pay 5 to destroy 2 artifacts. But I'm not going to put it in the deck because I have a feeling I have a lot of that in here. Priest of Urabrask is a free card, basically. I'm going to maybe board that. I know I put directly in another one that didn't refund you nearly as much. So actually, minus, plus. Yeah, because I can always maybe board it later. Pyro Dancer. Nope, we ain't messing with stickers. Twist things don't matter. That don't matter. Still ain't putting that in. Seasoned Pyromancer. Nope. No. Red Calf Thief. Shadowcall Starter. Sibylline Soothsayer. Nope, that's just too much text. This is too much text. 2 damage to each opponent. Instead of just one opponent, that feels a little better. This reminds me that probably I should still put in the professional Facebreaker, that you get a treasure token for dealing combat damage to your opponents. So kind of put your opponents in a danged if you do, danged if you don't situation. It's like, aha, I will get treasure if I hit you, but if you block, I get to cast this spell again. Though the question is that what mana value do I just stop looking? Honestly, I think 3. Now that I'm at the end of 3. We're at 26 creatures. So now we're going to search for deals combat damage. Oh, I should have ordered that by CMC as well. Oh, Ancient Copper Dragon just for the lulz. It's flying, and you can get a number of treasure tokens. There's other stuff that I'm also kind of looking at. How many total things are there? 142? That ain't too many to look at. Cacophony Scamp. Wow, Bloodthirster is really expensive. So I'm at 27 creatures for the record. This can make blood tokens. Not my favorite kind of token. Not my least favorite kind of token, but we're not doing curses. We're not doing Dowsing Dagger. Going in mana value order definitely would have let me get Professional Facebreaker quicker, but it did. It would have. I wouldn't have remembered the Ancient Dragon. So, give and take. Cauldron complete. No thanks. Whenever a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, deals that much damage to each opponent. Oh, that's interesting, but no thanks. Because after a while, I'm probably just not gonna attack with my commander, because like I just kind of want. Oh, that reminds me of other things that need to go in. Port Razor, Relic Robber. You got to be careful with Relic Robber, because if they have sacrifice outlets, then I just ain't doing anything for you. Did I just pass by Professional Facebreaker? No, it just my the words that I've chosen weren't the words that get that card. Well, that is interesting. Well, let's. Oh, I had deals combat instead of deal combat. And then we can always sacrifice treasure for my least favorite kind of impulsive draw, but at least like you're doing it on purpose, so you know what you're getting into. We are at 28 creatures. I said I wanted 30. Oh, we're at 29 creatures. Technically, we're at 30 creatures because of these two. And then, yeah. Okay, I guess we're fine. So, let's get in our Swifty Boots. Our Lightning Greaves. Our Mithril Coat, because we definitely want Norin to be on the battlefield. We want to deal extra damage. And those are two good ways to do it. What are we at? We're at 93. Oh, that one actually did go over there. Well, that's fine, because the one that actually made it into the deck was the good one. Whichever one it was. That one can stay. That gives immediate extra battle phases, and you don't have a chance to cast your creatures, from what I can tell. Anyway, what else? I had thoughts. Oh. Fervor. That gives creatures haste. We won't sit like lazy gobslugs waiting for death to come at us. We'll bring death shiny sharp to our enemies. Oh, Krinko. Although, I was about to say Perforos isn't a creature all the time, but then again, this is mono red, so that's not going to be much of a problem. That actually reminded me of a land that we can put into this deck. The Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. I don't know how much devotion we'd have, but there we go. But I am going to go down to 37. Is it you? No. It's the furnace, right? Oh. Hold on. Categories. Go away. Put you in the maybe board. The hideaway's fine. I actually do have a greater than 0 number of legendary creatures in this deck. The Hidden Volcano, that'll also go in the maybe board. Because at least the hideaway doesn't sacrifice itself. Even though it's technically burn, it's just put in creature, because nobody cares. One theft card. A lot of things down there in removal. Priest of Herb Rasp's being called ramp, even though it's not. It's just technically a free spell. Anyway, we were at 93. I just put in the ramp and the cards that protect Norin. I put in Fervor. Whoops. Let's see what else gives my stuff haste. Anger gives haste. And I'm bound to control mountains. Commander creatures. No, creatures control. That costs way too much. Emblem is an enchant. Well, it's an aura, I should say. Other goblins, of course, goblins. Technically, this is better than Fervor because it has this extra utility, but I would never do that. That's asking for trouble. Mass Hysteria. That's the Concordant Crossroads for red. Multicolored. It's also way too expensive, jeez. Rising of the Day is a better Fervor because my legendary creatures that I have greater than 1. I have at least 2 that I saw. Urbrass the Hidden I like because it messes with everybody else. We don't need the Rebel Fort because it has Defender and that's just not helpful. There we go. So we have... They put them all in Anthem. That's funny. Well, they put those in Anthem. Urbrax went into stacks. That's interesting. Into recursion, even though it's recurring itself. Some of these choices are funny to me. I do like where I'm going with this. Do we want the Empress of Mars now? No, I still don't. Do we want? I kind of still want. I kind of want Enduring Courage. Because it. But I don't. I'm not really casting my creatures in main phase 1. That's the problem. What do we got left? We got 4 left. And then we go back to type. We got our 30 creatures. Just looking over the stuff I have. 37 lands. Lightning Bolt, Chaos Warp, Delay Blast, Fireball. And down here in sorceries, we have Mizzium Mortars, Reckless Impulse, Rin's Resolve, and Impending Flux. You know what? No, that's right. Won't do it when I'm set to types. That is so obnoxious. Put Outpost Siege out there. Wherever they think it goes. But now we get to play where did they think it goes. It's not in removal, it's not a land, it's not recursion, it's not stacks, it's not protection. It's not draw. Oh, no, they put it in, they decided it was draw. They decided the cons was the more commonly used thing. Well, I'm going to move it to burn, because that's what it counts for me. Because that's how we're going to be honest. I still like that. I like that so much that I think I am going to put the rock speaker in here. Like, this is obviously not the strongest deck it could be, but I am now at the I'm almost done, let's just put stuff in here phase. So, yep, that's just me finishing the deck. What are my errors? Oh, it's saying that these two can't be set as premier together. Boo. Edit category. It's not premier. Save category. Boo. And now it's core 2. Let's see. And I feel like that it's has that average pre-constructed deck, which doesn't even feel entirely accurate to bracket 2. But I don't have any of these things. I don't have any tutors. And this could very well be an exhibition deck because it's kind of a silly theme. But once again, it's something that we'd have to play. So let's go up here. Description. What's the win con? Either ETB. Even though people just are supposed to just say enters now, we still say ETB for the shorthand, even though that's longer. And I also either ETB value or you take damage. Either I get ETB value or you take damage. That's the whole thing. And then it gets a real name. The better part of valor, which is discretion, knowing when to run away. Save them changes. Close. Oh, let's see what our curve is. Or do we have a table? Wee. But then again, considering the way my deck supposedly works, we definitely want like the majority of our cards in the low cast zone. Like this would be a prime when you've casted your X spell per turn. Oh, what is her name? Because actually she could go in here. Oh, second spell. See, we were done, but then I had a thought. Or oh, third spell. Because I know there's a third spell, I just don't remember her name. So, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you get a mercenary. I don't need that. Kaplan Ripley Vance. Sure. I actually like her. Because remember, we kind of were just rushing through the deck at the end. Hearthborn Battler. Yeah, whenever a player casts their second spell each turn. 2 damage to target opponent. I like that. Oh, boy, that costs 5, but... Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, target creature or player. I'm sure there's stuff I can take out for that. Raging Battle Mouse. Second spell you cast costs 1 less to cast. That's interesting. Oh, Vance's Blasting Cannons. Oh, this is, So if you cast your third spell, it turns into... Not all that interesting. I am going to throw it in the maybe board just to acknowledge its existence. I'm going to throw that into the maybe board to acknowledge its existence. I'm also going to throw that into the maybe board to acknowledge its existence, even though it's not really something that's going to make into the deck. But now we're 4 over. But Norn the meme is staying in. But I'm going to look at those two so-called ramp creatures. Like, she's going back into the maybe board. The wily goblin can go into the maybe board. Priest of Urbrask probably will stay in. You are going into the maybe board. And then that leaves us with 1. And no, Norin is... Oh, but I am going to rename it from... No, Norin again is fine. I was going to rename it to Other Norin. But that'll probably... Oh, they're calling that card draw. I guess technically it is. Oh, Voldaren Epicure can go into maybe board. There we go. The blood token. It's also 1 damage. But I do like Vexing Devil. Coven Marauders is good. I like that all of those got to stay. I don't even know where those cards I added ended up. Okay, most of them ended up in this area with burn. Because that's the... Yeah, because that's what most of them did. Right? Yeah, Captain Ripley Vance is right here, and... Nope. Where did Captain Ripley Vance end up? I'm just... Oh, she went... See, this is weird. She went down in removal. Probably because she deals more than a little damage. But it just kind of shows you where things are. So we're still a 2. Better Part of Valor is a much better name than the generic placeholder name. I think this is our most expensive deck. Because we can go over here. Yeah, I have all... Just spoiler, I have a lot of my decks planned. And next week was going to be a Shia Soul of the Wild, but it's probably going to be the new Energy Nissa. Because I want to try my hand at mono green energy. Yeah, I think a lot of the rest of my decks are over 4, under 5. So that's 442. 385. Scarmia River is the cheapest so far. 481. That was, I think, the most expensive. And nope, never mind. New England Clam Chowder was 550. Definitely not the Commanders. So, anyway, this is also maybe one of the shorter ones. That was not a helpful button to press. So yeah, look forward to next time when we either do land barf or energy land barf.